My beloved child, stop. Do not scroll past this moment. I know your finger is already moving. I know your mind is telling you, I'll listen later, when I'm calmer, when I have more time. But hear me clearly now. This moment is not random and it is not accidental. I am not asking for much. I am not demanding hours of your attention. I am asking for one moment, because in this moment is something your heart has been quietly searching for. Tonight is not ordinary. Something has been building inside you. Pressure you cannot explain. A restlessness that does not go away, even when you try to distract yourself. You have felt it in the quiet. You have felt it when everything slowed down and your thoughts grew loud. You have felt it when you asked questions you never said out loud. And I have heard every one of them. I know how tired you are, not just physically but deep inside. Tired of thinking, tired of carrying, tired of being strong when you no longer feel strong. You wake up already feeling behind. You lie down at night with a mind that refuses to rest. Even when your body slows, your heart keeps running. I see it all. That is why I am asking for this moment. Not to burden you, but to steady you. Not to overwhelm you, but to realign you. Not to demand effort, but to offer peace. This is not about time. This is about attention. You may not realize it, but silence has been costing you more than listening ever could. You have reached a point where continuing without clarity is heavier than pausing for a moment to receive it. I am speaking now because this moment cannot be delayed any longer. You have been telling yourself you will come back later, when things feel quieter, when you feel more ready, when you have more strength. But I know something you have not admitted yet. Things rarely become quieter on their own. Life does not slow down unless you choose to stop. And I do not want you to keep moving forward while carrying confusion I am ready to remove. You may feel a tension inside you right now, a pull to keep listening, and a pull to move on. That tension is not confusion. It is recognition. Your spirit knows this moment is for you, even if your mind tries to resist it. Distraction has been your survival tool. Busyness has been your shield. Staying occupied has helped you avoid what feels too heavy to face. But my beloved child, numbness is not rest, and distraction is not peace. I am not calling you out of anger. I am calling you out of love. I am not disappointed in you. I am deeply aware of you. I see how you have been holding everything together, how you show up even when you feel unsure, how you tell yourself you are fine when something inside you knows you are not. You have been strong, but strength without rest becomes heavy. Faith without reassurance becomes fragile. That is why I am asking you to stay here for just a moment. You do not need perfect words. You do not need a long prayer. You do not need to impress me with devotion. You only need to be present. I already know your heart. I already know your fears. I already know the questions you carry but rarely share. You have wondered if I was still listening, if I was still near, if I was still involved in your life. Even when you did not say it out loud, your heart spoke, and I heard it all. I did not speak sooner because I was distant. I waited because I was careful. I did not want to speak before your heart was ready to hear without fear. I did not want to rush you into something before you could receive it with peace. The waiting was not punishment. It was preparation. The weariness you feel has softened you. The questions you carry have ripened. The season you have been in is reaching its end. And the next one cannot begin in confusion. You have been asking for answers, for confirmation, for peace that lasts longer than a moment. That is why I am here now. Do not underestimate what I can do in the space you are willing to give me. One moment of listening can change the direction of your life. One pause can open a door you have been knocking on for months. I see how much you have been giving. Your time, your energy, your thoughts, your strength. You care deeply even when it hurts. You keep going even when you feel empty. But caring deeply while exhausted is painful. And I do not want weariness to convince you that hope is too expensive. This moment is not a warning. It is an invitation. I am not here to frighten you with urgency. I am here to focus you with love. What I am about to speak into your life will not confuse you. It will steady you. It will not burden you. It will lift you. It will not rush you. It will align you. You do not need to have everything figured out to listen. You do not need to be calm to receive peace. You do not need to be confident to be guided. You only need to be willing. My beloved child, slow your breath. Let your shoulders soften. Let the noise inside you settle. Just for this moment. You are safe here. You are seen. You are deeply loved. And this moment, this pause you almost skipped, is not small. It is the beginning of something gentle, something true. Stay with me, because what I am about to reveal to you next will change the way you understand what you've been carrying and why this season had to unfold the way it did. My beloved child, stay with me. Do not rush away now, not after you have come this far. I know part of you wants to pull back. When truth gets close, fear often follows. When clarity approaches, the mind looks for exits. But listen carefully. I am not here to expose you. I am here to relieve you. You have been carrying things you were never meant to carry alone. And over time, you stopped noticing how heavy they became. At first, it was just responsibility, then expectation, then unanswered questions, then quiet disappointments you told yourself did not matter. But they added up. You learned how to function while tired, how to smile while uncertain, how to keep moving even when your heart felt behind. And slowly, without realizing it, you stopped resting, not just your body, but your soul. You told yourself, this is just how life is now. You adapted to pressure. You normalized exhaustion. You made peace with confusion because you thought clarity was asking too much. But my child, confusion was never meant to be your home. I see the decisions you've been postponing, the conversations you keep replaying, the moments you wish you could redo. I see how you second-guess yourself long after the moment has passed. You wonder if you said too much or not enough, if you waited too long or moved too soon. And even when nothing is wrong on the outside, your mind refuses to be quiet. That constant noise inside you, that is not because you are broken. It is because your heart has been asking for alignment, not more effort. You tried to fix things by thinking harder, by planning better, by pushing through. But transformation does not begin with control. It begins with surrender. And surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of what was never yours to manage alone. You have been afraid that if you slow down, everything you've been holding back will rush in. Afraid that if you stop, the weight will finally crush you. But hear me, slowing down with me is not the same as stopping alone. I do not let the weight fall on you. I lift it. I know you have been surviving by staying busy, keeping your schedule full, keeping your mind occupied. Busyness has protected you from feeling too much, but it has also kept you from healing. You were never meant to live in constant survival mode. I see how guarded your heart has become, not because you stopped caring, but because caring deeply while exhausted hurts. So you built walls quietly, not to shut people out, but to protect what little strength you had left. And I do not blame you. I am not disappointed in your coping. I am concerned about your rest. Love does not wait until you break. Love intervenes gently before that happens. That is why I am here now. You may feel unworthy of this attention. You may think you should be stronger, more faithful, more consistent. But I do not measure you the way you measure yourself. I see your intentions. I see how hard you try even when you are tired. I see the quiet battles no one applauds. You have fought wars in your mind that no one knows about. You have endured moments that never became stories you share. And still you are here. That tells me something about your heart. You have wondered if your silence pushed me away, if waiting too long cost you something, if you missed your chance. Hear me clearly now. You did not miss me. I am not offended by hesitation. I am not threatened by questions. I am not distant because you were quiet. Your silence was not rejection. It was exhaustion, and I understood it completely. There were moments when you felt a sudden urge to pray, but dismissed it because you did not know what to say. Moments when you felt drawn to be still, but told yourself you could not afford the time. Moments when you sensed my presence, but doubted yourself and moved on. I was there in all of them. I did not withdraw when you hesitated. I leaned closer. I waited not as a judge waiting to correct, but as a parent waiting to embrace. I waited because love waits. You may not realize how many times I protected you during that silence, how many paths I delayed, how many decisions I softened, how many moments I covered with grace because your heart was tired. Your life did not stall because you paused. It was preserved. Heaven did not grow impatient with you. Heaven stayed attentive. Your name was not forgotten. Your prayers were not lost. Your life was not overlooked. I heard the prayers you never finished, the sentences that stayed trapped in your chest, the questions you were afraid to ask because you did not want to hope again. Unfinished prayers still reach me whole. Loneliness visited you in ways others do not understand. Not always because you were physically alone, but because you felt unseen even among people. You smiled while feeling distant inside. You listened while feeling disconnected. You wondered if anyone truly understood you. That loneliness did not mean you were abandoned. It meant your heart was longing for a depth the world could not give. You questioned your worth in quiet ways. You wondered if your presence mattered, if your absence would even be noticed. Those thoughts wounded you silently, but your value has never been determined by how many people see you. It was established the moment I formed you. You are fully known and fully loved. Your struggle with doubt did not make you weak. It revealed your sincerity. Hearts that care deeply often wrestle deeply. I saw the nights when tears came without warning. Tears you did not plan to cry. Tears you tried to explain away as exhaustion. But those tears were not failure. They were release. And not one of them was unnoticed. You carried unanswered prayers longer than you expected. First with hope, then with persistence, then with silence. You wondered if silence meant no, if waiting meant rejection. But waiting does not mean unwanted. Silence does not mean absence. I have been with you through every internal struggle you hid so well, and I am proud of your endurance, even when you did not feel strong. Tonight is different because something has shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. You felt it as restlessness, as weariness that no longer fades, as a question that would not leave you alone. That was not confusion. That was preparation. Something old is ending. Something new is drawing near. And I am speaking now because your heart is finally ready to receive what comes next without fear. Do not rush away, because in the next moment, I am going to show you what this season was actually preparing you for, and why what felt like delay was never denial. My beloved child, stay right here. I know something inside you feels exposed right now. Not uncomfortable, just open. Like a door that has been closed for too long has finally been unlocked. That feeling is not weakness. It is readiness. You have asked yourself more times than you admit, why did this season take so much out of me? Why did I have to struggle so quietly? Why did clarity take so long? And part of you feared the answer, because you worried it might mean you failed, that you were too slow, too hesitant, too uncertain. But hear me now, this season was never meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you. There are things I could not give you earlier, because they would have overwhelmed you instead of helping you. There are truths that feel like pressure, when a heart is not yet ready to carry them. And there are callings that require depth, not just desire. You were not being delayed. You were being strengthened. I was not withholding clarity to punish you. I was protecting you from clarity you were not yet ready to hold without fear. You asked for peace, but peace built on shallow understanding does not last. You asked for direction, but direction without grounding leads to anxiety. So I worked deeper than you expected. I worked in places no one else could see. I used moments of waiting to teach you patience. I used moments of uncertainty to teach you trust. I used moments of silence to teach you how to listen. You thought you were standing still, but you were growing roots, and roots grow quietly. I know you compared yourself to others. You wondered why their path looked clearer, why their progress seemed faster, why their confidence looked effortless. But what you could not see was the depth being formed inside you. You were learning discernment. You were learning empathy. You were learning how to sit with discomfort without losing yourself. These are not small things. They are the foundation of wisdom. You were learning how to remain kind, even when disappointed, how to remain hopeful, even when unsure, how to remain open, without becoming naive. That kind of maturity cannot be rushed. It must be lived. I know there were days when you felt behind, as if life was moving forward without you. But I was never measuring you by speed. I was shaping you for stability. Speed impresses the world. Stability sustains the soul. You were not falling apart. You were being refined. You were not lost. You were being redirected. Some things had to be stripped away, because they no longer fit who you are becoming. Old expectations, old identities, old ways of coping that once protected you, but would now limit you. Letting go always feels like loss at first, but often it is simply release. You felt confused because your old ways of understanding no longer worked, but the new clarity had not fully arrived yet. That space between, that is where transformation happens. It is uncomfortable, feels uncertain, feels lonely, but it is holy. You were learning how to trust without guarantees, how to move without full visibility, how to believe without constant reassurance. And I never left you in that space alone. Every time you thought you were barely holding on, I was holding you. Every time you thought you were weak, I was strengthening what you could not see. You learned how to pause instead of panic, how to reflect instead of react, how to feel deeply without being ruled by emotion. That is not accidental growth. That is preparation. You are not the same person you were when this season began. Your heart is more aware. Your mind is more discerning. Your spirit is more sensitive. You notice things you once ignored. You feel things you once avoided. You question things you once accepted without thought. This is not confusion. This is awakening. I know you worried that your doubts disqualified you, that your questions made you unstable. But questions are not the enemy of faith. Fear is, and you faced your fear instead of running from it. That matters. You stayed open when it would have been easier to shut down. You kept caring when it would have been easier to numb yourself. That courage shaped you more than you realize. I see how carefully you guard your heart now. Not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. You have learned that not everything deserves access to you. That is not hardness. That is discernment. You are learning how to choose peace over pressure, truth over approval, alignment over urgency. And that is why this next season requires you to be exactly who you have become. Not who you used to be, not who you thought you should be, but who you are now. I know you are still afraid of getting it wrong, of choosing the wrong path, of trusting again. But hear me, you are no longer walking blindly. You are walking with awareness, and awareness changes everything. You are more prepared than you think, more capable than you feel, more supported than you realize. The clarity you asked for is beginning to form, not as a loud announcement, but as a quiet knowing. You are starting to sense what no longer fits, what no longer aligns, what no longer brings life. That is guidance. And soon you will begin to sense what does. But before I reveal what is opening next, there is one more thing your heart needs to hear. Something you have been quietly wondering, something you have been afraid to name. And when you hear it, it will change the way you understand your future. So stay with me, because in the next part, I will speak directly to what is coming, and why you are more ready for it than you ever believed. My beloved child, breathe with me for a moment. I know your heart is leaning forward now, not out of urgency but out of recognition. Something inside you knows that what is coming next matters. You have been sensing it quietly, a feeling that change is near, but not knowing what shape it will take. You have felt anticipation mixed with fear, hope mixed with caution, excitement followed quickly by doubt. That is not confusion. That is transition. You are standing between what was and what is about to be. And I want to speak clearly to you now, not to overwhelm you, but to steady you. What is coming is not chaos. It is not punishment. It is not loss disguised as growth. What is coming is alignment. You are not stepping into something unfamiliar. You are stepping into something prepared. Prepared not just around you, but within you. You thought you were being emptied this past season. But what was actually happening was space being made. Space for peace that does not depend on circumstances. Space for clarity that does not disappear under pressure. Space for confidence rooted in truth, not approval. Some things had to loosen their grip on you, because they could not go where you are going. Certain expectations, certain attachments, certain versions of yourself that were built out of survival, not calling. You were not losing yourself. You were shedding what was never meant to define you. And I know letting go felt like failure at times. I know release felt like rejection. I know walking away felt like falling behind. But hear me, you were being positioned. You are entering a season where you will no longer have to force what flows naturally, where effort will be replaced with alignment, where peace will no longer feel temporary. This does not mean everything will be easy, but it does mean you will not be constantly unsure. You will begin to recognize what resonates with your spirit and what drains it. You will begin to trust your discernment. Instead of questioning every instinct, you will begin to move forward without needing constant confirmation. That is growth. You have learned how to listen inwardly instead of looking outward for permission. And that is why this next chapter requires maturity, not urgency. I know part of you expected something dramatic, a sudden shift, a loud sign, but I work most powerfully, in quiet clarity. The changes ahead will feel gentle, but they will be lasting. You will notice peace returning in small ways first. A lighter mind, a steadier heart, a sense of direction that does not shout, but stays. You will notice your reactions changing. What once triggered anxiety will now invite reflection. What once demanded immediate answers will now wait without fear. That is not because circumstances changed. It is because you did. You are no longer who you were when this journey began. You are wiser. You are softer in the right places, stronger where it matters. You no longer chase what exhausts you. You no longer stay where your spirit shrinks. You no longer confuse intensity with purpose. And that clarity will guide you more accurately than noise ever could. I know you are afraid of missteps, of choosing wrong, of trusting again after disappointment. But fear does not get the final word. You are not walking into the unknown alone. You are walking forward with awareness, with grounding, with support. I am not sending you ahead unprepared. I am walking with you. You will not have to rush this next season. What is meant for you will not require panic. What aligns with you will feel steady, even when it challenges you. You will not need to abandon yourself to move forward. You will not need to become someone else to belong. You will not need to shrink or harden to be safe. I am restoring trust, not just in me, but in yourself, because you have learned, because you have endured, because you have grown quietly strong. And now there is one final truth. Your heart needs to receive something that will anchor you when doubt tries to return, something that will remind you who you are when the noise gets loud again. Stay with me, because in the final part, I am going to speak directly to your identity, not who you were afraid you were, but who you truly are becoming. And when you hear it, you will understand why this entire journey had to unfold exactly the way it did. My beloved child, stay close. Do not pull away now, even if your emotions feel fuller than before. Sometimes when truth settles in, it stirs things that were buried quietly, not to harm you, but to heal you completely. You are not overwhelmed because this is too much. You are feeling deeply because something true is finally touching you. For a long time, you learned how to keep parts of yourself hidden, not because you were dishonest, but because you were protecting yourself. You learned which parts of you were safe to show, and which parts needed to stay guarded. You learned how to be okay on the outside, while questions lived quietly inside. And you became very good at surviving that way. But survival is not the same as living. I never intended for you to only endure your life. I intended for you to inhabit it fully, with peace, with meaning, with connection. That is why this season has been so inward. That is why so much has happened beneath the surface. I was not trying to take anything from you. I was helping you come back to yourself. You may not realize how often you doubted your own worth. Not loudly, but subtly. You questioned whether you were too much, too sensitive, too thoughtful, too emotional, or at times you feared you were not enough. Not decisive enough, not confident enough, not consistent enough. Those quiet doubts shaped how you moved through the world. They made you shrink in some spaces and overextend in others. They made you seek reassurance, even when you were capable of trusting yourself. But hear me now, there is nothing wrong with the depth of your heart. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is perception. Your thoughtfulness is not hesitation, it is discernment. Your emotional awareness is not instability, it is intelligence of the soul. You feel deeply because you were created to understand deeply. And for a while, you lived in environments that did not know how to hold that depth. So you adapted. You learned to carry yourself carefully. You learned to measure your words. You learned to downplay what mattered to you. That was not failure. That was survival. But survival is no longer required here. You are entering a season where you will not have to apologize for the way you are wired, where you will not have to explain why certain things affect you more than others, where you will not have to justify your need for meaning, honesty, and peace. You are not too much, and you are not behind. You are precisely where you need to be. I know there were moments you felt invisible, moments when your effort went unnoticed, moments when your intentions were misunderstood. You wondered if anyone truly saw the care you put into things, the way you tried, the way you showed up. I saw all of it. I saw the restraint it took to stay kind. When you felt disappointed, I saw the courage it took to keep hoping, after hope had already been bruised. I saw how often you chose growth, when it would have been easier to choose bitterness. That matters more than you know. You were building character. In moments no one celebrated. You were becoming grounded, in places where no applause existed. And that kind of growth lasts. You have been learning how to stand, without hardening your heart, how to protect your peace, without closing yourself off, how to be discerning, without becoming fearful. That balance is rare, and it is valuable. I trust you with what comes next, because you have learned how to listen, not just to me, but to the quiet wisdom forming inside you. You will not move forward the same way you once did. You will not chase validation. You will not ignore discomfort just to keep the peace. You will choose alignment, even when it costs you familiarity. You will choose truth, even when it requires courage. And you will choose rest, without guilt, because you finally understand that exhaustion is not a badge of honor. You are allowed to live gently and still move powerfully. You are allowed to pause and still progress. You are allowed to say no without losing your value. This next season will invite you to trust that, not all at once, not dramatically, but steadily. And when doubt returns, because at times it will, you will remember this moment. You will remember that you are not walking blindly. You are walking consciously. You are not reacting. You are choosing. You are not being pushed. You are being led. There is still more I want to tell you. More reassurance your heart needs to anchor itself fully. But before I speak the final truth, I want you to rest in this for a moment. You are not broken. You are not late. You are not invisible. You are becoming. And what you are becoming requires patience, depth, and trust. Stay with me, because in the final part, I will speak the words your heart has been quietly waiting to hear. Words that will not rush you forward, but will give you the confidence to move ahead without fear. My beloved child, let us slow this moment down. Not everything meaningful needs to arrive quickly. Some truths need silence around them, so they can land gently, instead of overwhelming you. You have spent so much of your life responding to urgency. Fix this, prove that, figure it out, move faster. But I am teaching you a new rhythm now, one that does not rush your healing. You do not need to be in a hurry to become who you are meant to be. There were seasons when speed felt necessary, because you were trying to escape pain, trying to outgrow confusion, trying to reach stability. But now, you are no longer running away from something. You are walking toward yourself, and that changes everything. You are learning how to pause without feeling guilty, how to rest without feeling lazy, how to reflect without spiraling into doubt. That is emotional maturity. You are no longer reacting from old wounds. You are responding from understanding. That is why certain things feel different now. why arguments lose their power, why silence no longer feels threatening, why you no longer need to explain yourself constantly. You are grounded, not because life is perfect, but because you are present. You have developed an inner steadiness that does not disappear when external things shift. That steadiness was built slowly, through disappointment, through unanswered questions, through moments where you had to sit with uncertainty. And you stayed. You did not abandon yourself. When things got uncomfortable, you listened, you learned, you softened. That takes strength most people never develop. There was a time when you confused intensity with importance. You thought if something felt dramatic, it must be meaningful. If something hurt deeply, it must be real. But now you are discovering that what is truly meant for you often feels calm, not boring, but safe, not empty, but spacious. The peace you are learning to choose is not passive. It is powerful. It allows you to see clearly, to choose wisely, to move intentionally. And because of that, you are becoming more selective. You no longer give access to everyone. You no longer overcommit. You no longer pour from an empty place. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship of your energy. You finally understand that your emotional well-being is something you are allowed to protect. You do not need permission to do that. There will be moments when old patterns try to return. Moments when you feel the urge to explain too much, to fix what is not yours to fix, to hold on to what is no longer aligned. When that happens, pause, not to judge yourself, but to remember. Remember how far you have come. Remember what peace feels like. Remember what it cost you to get here. You are not the same person who once accepted less because you feared being alone. You are not the same person who stayed silent to keep things comfortable. You are not the same person who doubted their intuition because others were louder. You have learned how to listen inwardly, and that voice, the one that feels calm, steady, and clear, that is the one you trust now. You will notice that this new version of you does not seek constant reassurance. You still care deeply. You still love fully, but you no longer lose yourself in the process. You can hold compassion without carrying responsibility. That is not yours. You can stay open without staying unprotected. You can love without abandoning yourself. That balance is what will sustain you in the seasons ahead. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being invited to become more fully yourself. And that invitation will continue through small choices, through quiet decisions, through moments only you will notice. Do not underestimate those moments. They are shaping your future more than you realize. There is still one final layer I want to unfold for you, a truth that ties everything together: your past, your growth, and where you are headed next. But it needs to be received with a settled heart. So stay here with me, because in the final part, I will speak directly to your purpose, not as pressure, not as expectation, but as an affirmation of who you already are. And when you hear it, you will understand why peace was always the path that led you home. My beloved child, come a little closer now, not because something is wrong, but because something important is about to be understood. You have reached a place in your journey where answers no longer arrive as noise. They arrive as recognition. That is why this feels familiar. Even though you have never been here before, you are not discovering something new. You are remembering something true. There has always been a quiet sense inside you that your life was meant to be more than survival, more than repetition, more than simply getting through the days. You felt it when you were younger, before responsibilities piled up, before disappointments taught you to be careful, before the world told you to be realistic. A subtle knowing that you were meant to live with intention. That knowing never left you. It just learned how to wait. And now, as the noise has softened and your inner world has become clearer, that knowing is speaking again. Your purpose is not something you have to chase aggressively. It is something you align with gradually. It is not a title you earn. It is a way of being you embody. You have spent enough time thinking that purpose must look dramatic. Loud achievements, constant momentum, visible success. But true purpose often looks quieter. It looks like integrity when no one is watching. It looks like choosing truth, even when it is inconvenient. It looks like creating safety where there was once fear. You bring steadiness into spaces that feel uncertain. You bring thoughtfulness where others rush. You bring depth where things are usually surface level. That is not accidental. Your presence calms more than you realize. Your words land deeper than you know. Your awareness shifts rooms, even when you say very little. This is part of your calling, to move through the world with intention and discernment. You are not meant to convince. You are meant to embody. You are not meant to rescue. You are meant to reflect. You are not meant to carry everyone. You are meant to walk alongside. When invited, there were times you tried to do more than that. Times you felt responsible for fixing things that were never yours to fix. That came from compassion, not weakness, but compassion without boundaries becomes depletion. You have learned that now. You understand that helping does not require self-sacrifice, that love does not demand self-erasure, that purpose does not require burnout. You are allowed to move slowly and still move meaningfully. You are allowed to say not now without saying never. You are allowed to grow privately before growing visibly. Your path does not need constant explanation. The right people will recognize it without being convinced. And the ones who cannot recognize it were never meant to walk it with you. Release the need to be understood by everyone. You are not here to be accessible to all. You are here to be authentic. And authenticity has a way of attracting exactly what aligns. You will notice that as you continue forward, your life will feel less cluttered. Not because you are losing things, but because you are choosing intentionally. Conversations will feel clearer. Decisions will feel steadier. Your energy will feel more protected. This is not isolation. This is refinement. You are learning how to live from your center instead of your fears. And from that place, your influence becomes natural. People will feel safe around you without knowing why. They will trust you without you asking. They will open up without you pushing. That is quiet power. It does not announce itself. It does not compete. It does not demand. It simply exists, and you are growing into it with grace. There is nothing you need to force. In this season, what belongs with you will meet you in calm ways. What requires constant anxiety is not aligned with your path. Trust that you are not falling behind. You are arriving with awareness, and there is one final layer still unfolding, one truth that brings everything together: your past pain, your present clarity, and your future direction. It is not something that will pressure you. It is something that will free you. Stay with me, because in the final part, I will speak the words that will help you step forward without doubt, not because everything is certain, but because you finally trust who you are becoming. My beloved child, This is where everything comes together. Not with noise, not with pressure, but with truth. You have walked through confusion, through silence, through seasons where answers felt delayed. And now you are here, not because you figured everything out, but because you learned how to stay present, even when you didn't understand. That is who you are. You are not someone who gave up when things became unclear. You are not someone who hardened when life asked you to grow. You are someone who stayed open without losing yourself. And that matters more than you realize. You kept going. Even when motivation faded, you kept choosing honesty. Even when pretending would have been easier, you kept listening inwardly. Even when the world was loud. That is not accidental. You were never meant to live on autopilot. You were never meant to shrink yourself, to fit into spaces that could not hold your depth. You were created with awareness, the kind that feels deeply, thinks carefully, and moves intentionally. And for a long time, you wondered if that made life harder for you. But now you see, it made you wiser. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not missing anything meant for you. Everything that passed was either a lesson or preparation. Nothing was wasted. Even the moments you regret taught you discernment. Even the relationships that ended showed you what alignment feels like. Even the waiting strengthened your ability to trust. You are not defined by what didn't work. You are defined by how you grew through it. And here is the truth your heart needs to hear clearly. You do not need to become more to be worthy of peace. You do not need to fix yourself to be deserving of rest. You do not need to prove anything to step forward with confidence. You are allowed to choose a life that feels calm, meaningful, and honest. You are allowed to move at your own pace without guilt. You are allowed to protect your energy without apology. You are allowed to trust yourself again. The next chapter of your life will not be built on fear. It will be built on clarity. You will make decisions that feel grounded. You will walk away from what drains you without second-guessing. You will choose what aligns, even when it is unfamiliar. Not because you are fearless, but because you are anchored. You know now that peace is not something you earn after everything is resolved. Peace is something you choose while you are still becoming. And you are becoming someone who listens before reacting, someone who feels deeply without drowning, someone who stands gently but firmly in their truth. That is strength. You will not always know how things will unfold, but you no longer need certainty to move forward. You trust your discernment. You trust your growth. You trust the quiet wisdom that has carried you this far. And whenever doubt tries to return, remember this moment. Remember that you were never lost. You were unfolding. You were never weak. You were learning. You were never behind. You were being prepared. Take a breath now. Let this settle into you. You do not need to rush the future. You do not need to fear it. You are ready. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. And wherever you go next, carry this with you. You are grounded. You are aware. You are becoming exactly who you are meant to be. And that is more than enough. If this message spoke to you, don't ignore it. Sit with it. Save it. Share it with someone who needs it. And remember, this is not the end of your journey. It is the moment you finally trust yourself to walk forward in peace. Sparkles, the path ahead is calm, and you are ready for it. Sparkles.